15th, 2024, 6:30 p.m. We are in the council chambers at the WC O'Neill Arena Complex, as well as with our friends of CHCO. We are airing through Zoom and Facebook. If anyone has any questions pertaining to anything related to the agenda tonight, you can contact us via email at pnopper@townofstanders.ca. And even if you're watching it after the fact, you can still make any inquiries or add any feedback to anything that you've seen again on the agenda this evening. Let's get into the recording of attendance. I note that all members of council are here with exception of Councillor Blanchard, who is spending some time with Air Canada. Want to recognize as well that we are on the unceded traditional territory of the Peskotomuhkati people. So I'll be looking for approval of the agenda. I just want to note that it is all advertised, so I will ask for a friendly amendment. As you know, it's a long package tonight. I want to bump planning and community development after presentations. Just I think Mr. Gopin, who's here in person, not on Zoom. I do see him. Want to note that he probably doesn't need to be here for 3 hours tonight. So, and I do know that Councillor Gumashal does have a hard stop at about 2.5 hours. So we'll do our best to get through as much as we can. So could I have a mover to approve the agenda? I've got Councillor Neal, seconded by Councillor Heenan. Any discussion or changes on the agenda? Seeing none, I will call the question. All in favor of approving the agenda, please signify by saying aye. That's everybody. So the agenda has been approved. And at this time, we'll get into disclosure of conflict of interest. Any this evening? Okay, I myself will be declaring it under planning and community development. So it will be PE regards to the Stonewall Place PID 01325240 and PED 231208 as well. So I will declare it at that particular time, and Deputy Mayor Akaji is aware, and she will chair the meeting at that particular time. Let's jump right into it. We have 2 presentations this evening. The first one is from the chair of Explore St. Andrews. It is the presentation on the 2024 budget and a little bit more. I see the strategic plan in here as well. It's a impressively thick document as well. So I'll ask Christy Kennedy to come forward. The podium is hers.
I know you have a packed agenda, so I'll speak quickly. Nice to see everybody. This time last year, we were presenting our 2023 budget. And we, as a group, determined that we had 2 very, very large deliverables this year. We are happy to say that one of them is completed and is a large document in front of you, and one is very close to completion. So one of them was the governance, and that was to develop our bylaws and to become a legal entity in order to continue the stewardship of the fund. These have been completed and are under review by an independent lawyer. They are attached in your information package, and Jamie Smith is going to take a few moments to review those with you. The other one is the development of our 3-year strategic plan. We believed very strongly that we needed a robust roadmap to grow our guest economy. This is attached and as I mentioned, is very comprehensive. It outlines market research and analysis that was conducted. We looked at best practices from other tourism-based communities and successful tourism boards. It covers branding strategy. It covers community engagement, regional partnerships, staffing requirements, and internal communication requirements. We also presented this to the community and all key stakeholders back in November to gain any further feedback of what was missing or what they would like to see. If there's any additional questions regarding the strategic plan, we're certainly able to answer those after our presentation is done. So I'm going to pass this over to Jamie for a few moments, and he's going to talk about the governance piece, and then I'll finish up with what this year's spend looked like and what next year's planned budget looked like.
Thanks, Christy, Mr. Mayor, and councillors and staff. Thanks for having us, and good evening and Happy New Year. I was told today was the last day you can say Happy New Year for there, so this is it. This is a Happy New Year to y'all. Yeah, so the bylaws, and begin with you. I mean, most of you know me. I'm just a biologist. I'm not a lawyer, although I am married to one. So if that's any, some credibility there. But the way we've approached this is to think of the bylaws as being a contract, right? To set the terms of the organization and how the organization would work and function. We also want to make sure that the bylaws set up a corporation that allowed for kind of an orderly transition of the committee as it exists right now, because right now we are a committee of the town. So a transition from that committee structure to an independent legal organization, and that legal organization would serve to be an effective steward of the levy fund and to serve as a destination marketing organization for the town of St. Andrews, but in that independent legal way. So I talked to, I guess, obviously to Betsy, but to a number of lawyers about, what is the process of actually establishing a legal entity and what has to go to do that. And the bylaws are not actually the first thing, right? The first thing is to register the corporation with founding directors, and then the directors then adopt the bylaws and then get on with running that corporation. So the bylaws aren't actually the first thing, but the bylaws are the core of whatever that corporation is going to be. So we need to get those right before we go back to square one and then get the process going from there. So that's been our focus of getting these bylaws together. We looked at a number of different options for the structure of the bylaws, a number of different governance structures. The one that we felt was really most fitting to our situation was the bylaws from Envision St. John, which is the economic development agency for St. John, but also serves as the destination marketing organization for that St. John region. I guess it's more than just the city of St. John. It's that whole kind of region. So the bylaws that we put together and that are in your package are very much taken from those. They provided those to us in a Word document, and we made changes to those to kind of reflect that situation. So and we know that they work. I talked extensively with Envision St. John. They were very open in their comments about how they've worked. So they've been there for a number of years. We know that they work. The model we put together, I did talk informally with David Bartlett. Actually, we through Chris and Paul, our first desire was to talk with the town lawyer, but there was, I guess, a conflict of interest there, which is fair enough. So we talked to Dave Bartlett, ran the model past him. He said, yeah, that seems to be okay with me. But obviously he had to see something written before he could provide an opinion on it. So the bylaws that we've written, we've now sent off to Dave. We sent them middle of December, something like that. So kind of pushing Dave to give us his response to that. And that's why we didn't get it done before the end of December. So we're waiting for Dave's comments on those. So that's kind of where we are with the process. The key components of the bylaws, we wanted to provide that clear mission and mandate. And so the mission and mandate that are in the bylaws are very much reflective of the town levy bylaw. They're very much reflective of the terms of reference of the committee as it stands right now. So that was in an attempt to provide that orderly transition from the bylaw, which collects the levy, the committee as it exists right now, and then the independent corporation. The board structure allows for a very broad community involvement, right? So in effect, there are no members of this. The entire community has an opportunity to participate and to be part of the board. And also to be part of annual sessions, involvement. So the whole community can be involved. And there's also an opportunity in there for a very regular turnover of board members, right? So board members, there's a founding process, and then board members are turned over every year. There's 3 new board members come on. So there's a constant turnover of board members. It's an open invitation to the community to apply to be a board member. So it's that it takes away that horrible thing of any board where you're stuck on it forever, right? There's provisions for that constant turnover. And I think that's a very healthy thing. There's also very clear requirements to adhere to the strategic plan, which is the roadmap for the organization, to submit annual work plans and budgets to be approved by the town. And then the funds are provided over. There's also a very clear provision that if the town decides to not provide funds to the corporation must cease operations. So that provides a very clear stopping point. If the town is not happy with what this organization does with the levy funds, it simply says, okay, we're cutting off your money and then you must cease to operate. It's actually in the bylaws written that way. So it's very, very clear that where the financing is coming from, what's to be done, and providing good community involvement to deliver that. That's the kind of the concept we've put in there. So I won't go through obviously every line unless you want me to go through every line, but I wanted to make those kind of highlights of what the bylaws were all about. And yeah, and then it's in front of David right now, and it's their draft. They're open for comment, and there. So happy to take any questions or hold them to the end, whichever way we do it.
If you do want to just continue, and then we'll do questions at the end on all of it, that would be great.
So this was a huge task that we undertook in addition to the strategic plan. So I just wanted to do a very high level snapshot on this year's financial obligations. So I'll just 2023 in review. You can go further. Perfect. So $75,000 was spent on festival and event funding, which was up $10,000 from last year. Our Welcome Center investment for 2023 was $18,000, and that was up $6,000 from the previous year. Our advertising and partnership spending was just under $9,000. One thing that we worked really hard on is we grew our online presence with our website capabilities. So we added tabs this year for meetings and weddings. We had a very comprehensive calendar of events, and we added itineraries for our visitors. A couple of day itineraries. We're really working on rainy day and inclement weather itineraries. They seem fitting for this week. And finally, our members of our committee attended the Saltscapes Expo, which is a regionally inspired tourism expo in Halifax. So if you want to go to our 2024, I think it's one more page. Even more. There we go. As you can see, there was a large surplus of funds carried over from this year. This was somewhat intentional. Although we executed a lot of several effective marketing initiatives for 2023, we felt that it was vital that we complete our strategic plan so that we had a concise roadmap as we had talked about for allocating funds. We didn't want to start spending money just for the sake of spending money. So this upcoming year, we feel really well positioned to spend effectively and to execute higher quality, more targeted advertising initiatives. For example, we want to increase our focus on travel trade partnerships. We want to increase our presence with Area 506 visitors. We have targeted demographic advertising that's based from our market research that we garnered this year. And we have several more projects that are already being developed and awaiting approval from council. We also realized there was a huge gap in both the funding and the operation of the Welcome Center, with the Chamber of Commerce recusing themselves from operations for the 2024 year. As a committee, we voted on contributing substantially more funds to ensure that we don't lose this resource. Next year, our community is generating so many more festivals and events. So we allocated more funds to this to ensure groups that are putting on these events can market them successfully. And finally, we learned early on this year that although our marketing manager executed some great initiatives, thank you, and helped us move several things forward, we really require a full-time executive director to oversee the board. We have multiple projects. They need to help us manage and cultivate lasting relationships with both internal stakeholders and with our community partners. And we've allocated funds for this position and we'll be posting imminently pending council's approval. So instead of getting into all of the line items of exactly where we're spending our marketing dollars, we have also attached one of our quarterly newsletters that we send out. So these go out via email to every person that pays into the levy fund. And it also solicits feedback from the community back on initiatives that we are doing, but also any new initiatives. And that really talks about our marketing spend. So we're just in the process of getting our next quarter one out. But it breaks down what magazines we're advertising in, billboards, airport advertising, all of the different actual events and festivals. So that's a little bit more concise. So that wraps up what we had to present to you, but we are open to any questions that you have.
All right, well, thank you very much, Christy and Jamie. I will open it up for questions. And I just want to remind council that later in the package this evening, we are, I guess, voting in relation to the budget and also extending the current operation through a committee of the town of St. Andrews. We're not voting on their bylaws. That's kind of their own governing document, but in the same sense, if you have any questions, I'm sure they're more than willing to answer them. Quick question just to start, it might be more for town staff than maybe you, is I noticed in the 3-year financial forecast, it's still having that town admin of 5%. I think that was more for maybe legal and other things that may pop up as part of this particular bylaw. I don't believe that fund's ever been really tapped into, and it's accumulating. Is that something that is going to be taken off? I think we had a conversation.
Yeah, we capped it when we amended the bylaw earlier in 2023.
Because that will end up being maybe about 20,000 additional dollars per year that can go right into operation. So, so that probably, when you look at the 3-year forecast, assuming nothing pops up, would actually be more funds to actually use for marketing. Council, any questions from any of you? Seems like everyone's had it. I will say that I had the opportunity to be part of their strategic plan, also attend their public engagement session, which was very, I'd say, interactive and well attended, and they got some feedback for that. But yeah, if there's no further questions, that oh, Councillor Harlan.
Thank you, Mayor Henderson, and thank you for the presentation and very comprehensive package. We really appreciate that. Just a question in terms of, I know the goal for May 2024 is to create a tourism brand. And in your consultation, has there been discussions with the Heritage Committee? Will heritage tourism be part of that tourism brand, given who we are as a community?
It is. That came about with Gail Bremner, who she was the consultant that we brought in to help us. It was more the brand of, when you Google St. Andrews, is it St. Andrews by the Sea? Is it SAINT? Is it ST?
Right.
And like just for us as a group to figure out what our name is. So that was part of the discussion for the May time, but the heritage culture is a vital part of our plan, and they will be brought in, as well as we're working a lot closer with Merv, and we're trying, we've talked about it before, of being less siloed and making sure that the chamber, the BIA, Kiwanis, heritage culture are all part of the discussion that we have. And in fact, would love to have someone solicit their name for a board position.
Great. I just noticed that in one of the municipalities that you looked at, Thompson, Okanagan.
Thompson, Okanagan.
Oh, yeah. I mean, one of the things that they talk about is identifying what's iconic.
Yeah.
For your area, and certainly what I think is iconic for St. Andrews is certainly our heritage, not just our heritage,
Yeah.
but it's a critical piece. So I'm really glad to hear that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks. Anyone else? All right. I do want to say that at the end of the day, Explore St. Andrews is a volunteer committee that we have in the community. I think sometimes people forget that it does take a significant amount of time to raise your hand, and it's almost a little bit thankless. You get, criticized, but you often don't get the credit that you deserve. So all of the board, thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting it. There is just one gap that I think that's just as much on the town as it is on Explore St. Andrews, is when you look at the mandate under their current bylaws, it talks about their role being to attract people. And when we talk about the Visitor Information Center, I think there is a gap, whether it be caused by the bylaw, whether it be some type of accident, but there's not a lot that really hits home about the visitor experience once they're here. Like we attract them, but there's not really a body that is all about the visitor experience when they're here. We're trusting that private business will put that forward, but sometimes there's community challenges that we need to work together. So it's not on Explore. I think it's a conversation that maybe sitting down with the board, with council and the chamber. So the chamber really, although tourism is part of it, they consider themselves now more economic development. So they're not going to take the lead on tourism experience. It seems like the mandate is saying it's for attraction more than it is for actually the experience. And then, of course, the town, we have nobody that actually lives and breathes tourism every day that can activate it. So I guess my only comment on that is I think we need to dive into that a little further. But when it comes to the Visitor Information Center Council, I think you're going to have something before you in early February to talk about a solution for the Visitor Information Center. And I can say that Explore St. Andrews has stepped up to try to meet us to find a solution for the community, since there is quite a few people that continue to use that service. So more to come, but thank you for the presentation. It's certainly appreciate it. Next presentation is Andy Jackson. So he's with Harbour Town Builders. It's the presentation on a proposed development along Mowat Drive. So the floor is yours. I think Dwayne's here as well. I'm not sure if he's joining Andy or just pushing him forward from behind. The floor is yours.
All right. So what we are proposing is just a 4-unit pocket community on a 236 Mowat Drive, which is next to the Greenside Motel. We came up with it because it is a narrow lot, but we got the depth, and it's a kind of a project that's not been done around here. It's been done in Fredericton, and it's gone pretty well, and it's something that we'd like to try down here.
So it is a bit of a different concept for St. Andrews. All the parking is at the front. It's a walkway down into the little community. There's quite a bit of building going on around St. Andrews, and we are kind of trying to cater towards more people that want a place that's smaller, not a whole lot of upkeep. Not everybody needs a 3,000 square foot house kind of situation.
Would you like us to open it up for questions?
Sure.
Yeah. All right. So
We could go on for hours.
council, for those of you familiar with this property, it's right beside the Greenside Motel. It was actually a file that probably might have been under closed, but it's in the past. Not really a legal file, but we were looking at it was an unsightly property in the town of St. Andrews. And the council at the time was actually looking at I believe it was up for a sale. Council at the time was looking if we could get it at the right price to actually potentially demolish the building ourselves. And Harbour Town Builders didn't acquire it. There was someone in between that acquired it before Harbour Town did, but Harbour Town demolished it. So right now it's just you could kind of see the lot that's right beside the Greenside Motel for those of you that don't know. And in the report, I know we're gonna have a discussion. Mr. Gopin, I don't know if you want to jump in now on this, just since it's right before council.
I can
In case they
provide
have
a
any
little
questions
context.
that get spurred out of it.
Yeah.
And then either way, we're gonna talk about it in the agenda tonight. So maybe I'll pass it over to you on this at this point in time.
Yeah. So when we reviewed there's no application yet. It's just, I think, very early stages. And when Andy reached out to talk about the initial concept, it really didn't fit anywhere within the zoning bylaw, within any of the zones that exist currently. It would need 3 to 4 variances, some of them fairly substantial on things like minimum floor area. And so we felt that the best course of action was to have it come to council for essentially a zoning amendment to create a new type of zone that basically works for this project specifically. Everything is done through development agreement. It's not necessarily opening the door to more projects like this, but as Andy is saying, these types of projects are being seen as an interesting way to get affordability through design. It creates an interesting community rather than because you have the parking at the front and sort of the walking path, and that works with fire code and things like that. So it's a new concept, but from a planning perspective, it would largely fit within the municipal plan. It's just the zoning bylaw where it really doesn't work. So that's why it's coming to council, but still very early stages.
Perfect, thank you. So basically from your report, the way council does it is there's a way to implement specific zoning for a specific parcel of land. In this case, there's a couple things, but the main one is the square footage. You wouldn't even go to PAC on that because it would be above and beyond a variance. So you need to, that's why changing the zoning by a specific parcel makes more sense. Is that?
So, I mean, you could go to PAC for that, but there's the square footage, there's the number of main buildings on a lot. In the service residential zone, you can only have one. And while one of these units could be an accessory dwelling unit where you had a main single family home, to have 4 of them on one lot, they're each kind of a main building, so they have to be treated as that. So you're looking at a use variance, a couple dimensional variances, and it just seemed better to bring it to council when you have that much deviance, not deviance, just not fitting within the normal boxes.
Yeah.
Put that in the minutes. Council, any specific questions to what you see in this package before you? I know that, is this technically called a tiny home or is it a micro home? It's a.
There's not really a technical term. When you get into this kind of stuff, I think when people say tiny home community, especially in New Brunswick, people think about the 12 neighbors in Fredericton, which is a great project, but I don't think that's at all what Harbour Town is going for. I think these are going to be more or less market price. It's so cottage community, pocket neighborhood. Those are some of the words that get thrown around, but there's not really a technical definition at this point. And they would be stick built on site, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Councilor Harlan.
Thank you, Mayor Henderson. I really like the initial concept. I think it's really exciting. I have seen what's in Fredericton, and I think there's some value to trying something different in our community. I really like the way you've incorporated the landscape screening. So it puts another, aesthetically, it would appear that it puts another element into the whole community. I like the idea of promoting the community concept. So the parking up front, it promotes more interconnection between the 4 houses. But in terms of it says that some will be 1 bedroom and some will be 2 bedroom. Is it 2 and 2, or has that been determined, or is that yet to be decided?
That's yet to be decided, depending on what we can get for our variances and setbacks. Will
Okay.
dictate the overall building size.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, any other questions, council? Councilor Michelle.
Thank you, Worship. Not so much a question as a compliment to Xander and a thank you to Harbour Town for coming up with potentially creative solutions to deal with this narrow lot. I think when we went through the zoning bylaw, one of the things we asked the planner to do was come up with ways to densify our town. Densification, I don't think is a word, but we coined it a few times, and to bring to increase the number of people living in our little peninsula is a great thing. So compliments on coming up with such a creative potential solution. Thank you, Worship.
Thank you, Councilor Gumichel. And I think I echo that. Council will have to have a discussion, but I've always said that we want to be development friendly, and we want to do it in a way that doesn't alter the look and feel of our community. This is directly beside a motel. It was an unsightly property that now could potentially help rentals in our community. And it will go through a process, basically the rezoning process, which means that people in the area will definitely be able to be engaged in the process, and nothing will be obviously 100% decided tonight. But it's good to see that the community is opening its eyes, that having big homes on big lots doesn't necessarily help move our community ahead. And it certainly isn't doing it for young workers or people like that. And my understanding from this is it is a rental. And it's one thing that we are still striving for, but there's still plenty of opportunity. And I will note that this one does have adequate parking as well, which is nice. So Unless there's no other questions, thank you. I know that this is, we might circle back to it quickly as part, but I think your part might have been right now too. So but we'll go back and make sure. So thank you very much for coming in and presenting tonight. All right, council. We are jumping into the approval of the minutes. I will note that the Port of Bayside was in the agenda for presentation. They've asked for a meeting instead. That'll be in your inbox if you haven't responded on, I believe it's for this coming Wednesday. So approval of minutes. Is there any changes to the minutes anyone noted? Otherwise, I'll go through the fast version. All right, I'm going to go through the fast version. And then after we get through the minutes, we'll do staff report, and then we will put planning and development at the front of the motions. So the first one of the minutes of the 23/12/04 regular council meeting on Monday, December 10th, or December 4th, rather, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. Could I have a mover to accept those minutes? I got Councillor Harlan, seconded by Councillor Heenan. All in favor of those minutes, please signify by saying aye. Anyone opposed? That's everybody carried. Minutes of the 23/12/11 special meeting of council on Monday, December 11th, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. Mover, please. Got Deputy Mayor Akaji, seconded by Councillor Bennett. All in favor of approving those minutes, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? That's none. The minutes of the 24/01/08 public hearing of objections to amendment number Z22-04 to the zoning bylaw Z22-01 on Monday, January 8th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. Once again, a mover. Ooh, we got Councillor Hurdle joining in, Councillor Heenan seconding. All in favor of approving those minutes? Once again, that's everybody. And I think I got one more that's caught here, don't I? No, I don't. I don't. All right, so we're jumping into communications. I'll pass it over to Mr. Spear to review the staff reports.
Sorry, you caught me off guard. I thought you were jumping into the planning. Council, happy 2024, despite the challenges we faced exiting 2023. Staff and I thank you for this ongoing opportunity to report to you on the projects and initiatives of the town. One of the big priorities of council moving into this winter will be to determine the preferred refurbishment option for the wharf. I am extremely empathetic to the hard decision that is before you, as it will have repercussions for decades to come. You need to balance what is aesthetically pleasing and complementary to a historic downtown versus what is manageable on a cost basis. What we know for sure is the facility is becoming structurally weakened, so a major refurbishment is necessary. However, with multiple options before you, it makes the decision that much harder. Staff have prepared reports before you to hopefully assist you in concluding the best option. Last Monday night, we had a meeting of objections to the Evanlands development on Mowat Drive across from the Bar Road. There were written objections submitted concerning the amount of overall development in that area of town, as well as the potential lack of services for the expanded population. The next step towards consideration of this project is to review and, if desired, accept the development and subdivision agreements that were prepared by staff, the planners, and the developer. Council certainly can provide more advice and ask for amendments to either agreement before accepting these documents. Once they are passed, we can move forward with the rezoning of the property. If council is agreeable to the development, they hope to start construction this spring, I think. Yeah. With the new year comes the availability of assistance grants from council. We are accepting applications over the next few weeks. You'll find the applications online on the website, or feel free to email us for a copy or drop in. Council typically distributes a large portion of the funds over the winter, so local service groups can count on the funding for their current year initiatives. Early in 2023, we undertook a survey to prepare for amendments to the vehicular bylaw. With other initiatives taking priority, the update of the bylaw was postponed. With the start of a new year, we plan to move forward with this so it can be in place by May 1st. Once workshopped with council, the community can provide further input through the bylaw process. Under administration, with the storm that hit us on December 18th and 19th, the effect on the community was impactful, as many of our residents were without power, displaced from their homes, and lost significant amount of food. The mayor and staff worked diligently on your behalf. We lobbied for power restoration as best we could, but had minimal influence on that process. I wish to thank the Red Cross and their volunteers for assisting us in their time of need. I was also pleased the operators of the reopened canteen at the Arenas, came in on the Tuesday when everyone was without power to provide an option for hot meals when almost everyone else was without power. Finally, I wish to acknowledge our staff and firefighting volunteers who, despite having the same challenges as everyone else, responded through the night as well into the evening to assist our citizens as best we could. I am having a debrief with staff to discuss lessons learned and work on a formalized checklist so we can respond more efficiently in the future. If you have any suggestions of what we could do better, we would appreciate the input. As a reminder, if you have uninsured losses, if you Google GNB storm recovery, there is a form to fill out. At this point, the province is just collecting data, but it is the first step towards acquiring assistance. Although the storm had a significant impact on us late in the month, we must appreciate the great holiday events put on by the Christmas Committee this year. Extended by a third weekend, there were lots of events for everyone and hopefully encourage more local purchases from your town merchants. It was a community-wide organization, but special thanks to Cindy Kohler, Vicky Hogarth, Andrea Vance, and Mervyn Henselpecker, who truly drove it home. As a result of local governance reform, the municipal plan needs to be updated to encompass Bayside and Shamrock. As previously stated, this is very much a public-driven process, so the policies and objectives for more rural areas of our municipality need not mimic the higher density areas. The zoning bylaw that eventually comes will reflect the reality of living in these communities. As we have witnessed a couple of times, proper planning documents are necessary to ensure complementary development in specific zones. The first step was a background report, which the Service Commission has been working on for several weeks, I'll put several months, and will be given and presented to council within the next month. Then stakeholder and community meetings will take place to gather further information, which will be added to the background report. Subsequently, the first draft of the amended municipal plan will be workshopped, likely in late spring. Mr. Gopan will provide further information as the process moves along. Later in the meeting, we'll be reviewing the additions of an administrative assistant to Town Hall, as well as upgrading the recreational leader position to full-time status. With the extra council members, community members, and initiatives, additional staff are needed to ensure the needs of everyone are met. Included in tonight's agenda is a motion to award a contract to explore various composting options for the municipality, including capital requirements and operational costs. Funded through the Environmental Trust Fund, this will guide council on the expectations of composting in a small area, both geographically and by population. This will provide information on what is feasible and the community's expectations. We were ready to go live with the new website on January the 10th, but with the storm coming and concerns that may have been needed for communication purposes, we delayed it a week. It has a whole new look and features, including a much enhanced events calendar. We have also found an application that will send out a weekly digest of news events and upcoming activities that will consolidate the information more effectively. I'm sure most of us have seen the video of the water splashing onto Indian Point and remaining there at the height of the last two storms. Besides seawater, stones, seaweed, and gravel were brought up on the wall. Staff barricaded the roadway on both sides to prevent anyone from getting through. However, the thrill of the storm results in several people going around the barricades. We strongly advise everyone to avoid doing that, as you could damage your vehicle, be injured, or if the ever-increasing intensity of storms be swept away. Please adhere to the barricades for everyone's sake. I wish to thank council and staff for the completion of the 2024 budget. It was a long process made more complicated by the late release of information by some of our partners. After a thorough review by the Department of Local Government, it was formally approved by them in early January. Under services, to illustrate the amount of damage from the December 18th event, Public Works had already had the brush and limbs from the normal 2023 pickup taken away. After the cleanup, which included yard debris from local citizens, the pile was larger than the previous 7 months' collection. Many tall and a few grandiose trees and limbs were lost. The town wharf also took a beating and will be analyzed further over the next few weeks as the weather allows. The Christmas lights took quite a beating too, but the wharf stayed lit, The downtown lights mostly work at the end, and the lobster trap tree proved unmovable. If you need to move an unmovable structure, talk to Kevin Simmons. We experienced a shortage in the downtown, and most of the Christmas lights were removed before the new year. That'd be electrical shortage. We are noticing a few cars are still parking on the streets in the town-owned parking lots. This impedes the snow plows, but also leaves the snow plowed areas or the non-plowed areas in substandard condition. We are continuing to tow vehicles to enforce this long-standing bylaw. There's illegal dumping occurring in certain areas of Shamcook and Bayside. They are under video surveillance, and as we and the Department of Natural Resources are interested in bringing this to an end. I wish to note that with the ever increasing amount of legislation and regulations, staff are continuing to participate in various learning opportunities to manage the expectations of the province. The asset manager was involved in webinars on phase 2 of asset management planning, as well as the cooling tower registry. The clerk is taking courses on environmental stewardship surrounding municipalities, while I've been involved in cybersecurity webinars and courses through the Canadian Association of Municipal Administrators. While it enhances our skills, it also provides further quality to the administration of the town. I wish to congratulate Debbie Lord for winning the Volunteer of the Year award from Big Brothers and Big Sisters St. John. Debbie has worked tirelessly for and with youth for many years and has had a large impact in the community and is well deserved for the award. At the annual firefighter department Christmas dinner, the following individuals were awarded long service awards. Jamey Emberley for 15 years of service, but Chief Kevin Terrio was awarded a 30-year service award from the Governor General of Canada for his commitment to the service. Within our fire service, there are many members with more than a decade of experience in volunteering for our town. I wish to say thank you for your ongoing dedication and service. In conclusion, 2024 will continue to be a year of transition as we continue to work through both our municipal plan and recreation master plan that will direct council and staff over the next decade. I am pleading for all our residents to get involved in the processes at some point of these plans directly affect your quality of life and what activities are available. This is the core responsibility of your local government, to meet the prescribed needs of our residents. Even for those out of our scope, council can continue to advocate on your behalf. Respectfully submitted, Chris Spear, CAO Treasurer.
Thank you very much, Mr. Spear. Hard to believe we're talking about December storms after last weekend. Council, any questions related to any of the attached staff reports, but also the financials are there as well? Just a quick one, Mr. Spear, more so December because we're still working through January, but was there any concern over the budget of Public Works? They're doing an incredible job, keeping our community what it is, but that's taking a lot of extra time, probably a significant amount of overtime in some situations. I was just wondering if there's any concern kind of towards year end if that was going to be an overage or even to start the calendar year as it's been storm after storm, significant weather event after weather event.
So, Your Worship, there's a bit of a concern, but truthfully, for the winter season, we consider that 15 to 20% of overtime is expected. And the only saving grace is we've had those big storms. We haven't had the snowstorms that are more typical. So we're hoping one offsets the other. Hopefully for the December 19th storm too, there should be some recovery from the province. It might be next December before we figure what it is, but they will cover overtime and some of the extra cost of removing the brush and stuff. So right now, I'm hopeful we can stay within budget both this year and last year.
Thank you very much, Mr. Spear. Anyone else? Councillor Heenan.
Thank you, Your Worship and Council. It's just a comment, really. First off, I would like to say thank you very much to the town staff and all the outside workers for all they've done. I think over the past 3 storms, it has proven to us that we can't be sitting on our laurels these days. We have to be prepared. And that's my issue with our equipment, is to make sure that we keep a good steady hand on our inventory, because this appears to be a very dominating factor in our lives here in St. Andrews. And it's just something that I worry about, that all of a sudden something's going to go wrong and we're not going to have something. So I would suggest highly, and I know there's a plan, Mr. Spear, there's no question in my mind, but I would suggest highly that we keep a very close report on our equipment, because these storms don't have time for breakdown time. We have to have our equipment in good shape. So as I say, I see them out cleaning the manholes, which is absolutely wonderful with that 1999 street sweeper. But I would just like to say that we do thank you ever so much for all you do in keeping it all together. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Haney. Mr. Spear?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Heenan. And I guess one of Mr. Acton's top jobs is to make sure with the equipment. And I will say, thank you to this council, but the previous couple of councils who have invested in the machinery and stuff too, to make sure that we have the equipment necessary to react in the storms. You can't help breakdowns, they're going to happen, but we're also very fortunate that one of our public works people are also team members. There's also a diesel mechanic, and so that is so good, because otherwise we'd be dragging stuff to St. John, and believe me, mid-snowstorm, that has happened before. So the community is very fortunate that the council's invested, but in return, we've worked hard to make sure we keep it to a standard that the community expects.
Thank you, Mr. Spear. Anyone else? All right, I'll be looking for a motion to accept staff reports. Can I have a mover? Councillor Heenan, seconded by Councillor Gumashell. I know we had question periods. I don't think anything else. Okay, call the question. All in favor of accepting the reports, signify by saying aye. That's everybody. The staff reports have been accepted. Let's jump ahead now. This is when we're going to do a little bit of a shuffle. So we are moving in at this point to introduction, consideration, passing of bylaws and motions. As indicated during the agenda setting, I want to bump planning and community development forward. I don't know, Mr. Gopin's a football fan, but it is playoff football time. So maybe, I don't know. I'm just trying to give a reason.
We'll go with that one.
Yeah, there's some people in the audience as well. So the first item, there's no motions. It's 3 items of discussion. The first one is a discussion on amendment Z22-04 for the rezoning of Stonewall Place, PID 01325240, Evans Land Development Limited, PED 231208. I will recuse myself. I don't think we turned the alarm off, so I will head the other way this time. And Deputy Mayor Akaji will take it, and someone could just let me know when it's over.
Thank you, Your Worship. And we begin with you, Mr. Heenan. It is on page, I think 151 we start, correct? 150.
That is correct. Page 151.
151. 150. 151 is the fees, yeah. That's where we are.
All right, well, this is from Paul Knopper, Senior Administrator, and it's in register number PED 231208. Amendment Z 22-04 has been on the council agenda since June of 2023. Through the process, council has obtained the views of a PAC committee, hosted 2 public hearings of objection, and moved amendment Z 22-04 to the first reading. Copies of the proposed subdivision and development agreement were provided to council before the Christmas holiday. Additionally, council requested that the traffic study be completed to determine if the roadways can handle the increased volume of traffic with all the proposed developments. This was presented to council on December the 4th, 2023, and completed by CBCL Limited. The report determined that the current road infrastructure can handle the additional vehicular traffic. Also, council asked CBCL Limited to review the in-ground infrastructure to identify if there was enough capacity in water and wastewater systems to handle the increased development. It was determined that the current infrastructure can meet all the needs of the new developments in the area. As a refresher, Mr. Chris Evans of Evan Land Development Limited is seeking to build 125 affordable residential units, 12 buildings of 10 units at Bar Road in Mowat on PID 013252240. Please see the attached update on the site plan for additional detail. The developer is also seeking financial support from the town as it relates to supporting the development of in-ground infrastructure and the municipal road. They are seeking $20,000 per building, up to 6 buildings, for a total of $120,000 investment. Please see the attached letter for more information. At this point, staff are seeking the direction of council on the following. If council is supportive of the subdivision and development agreements, if council would like to support the developers with funding for their affordable build out towards the infrastructure, if council is comfortable with moving to second and third reading of the amendment bylaw, if so, staff will bring forward motions to the next council meeting.
Thank you, Counselor Heenan. Would you like to add anything, Alexander?
No, I don't have anything to add
Okay.
at this point.
Council? Yes, Counselor Weir.
I have one question. I'm sorry. The conceptual drawing, I think it's a scale of 1 to 10,000. So I have my microscope with me. There's a couple things that I sort of questioned. The field survey completed on is blank, so I'm questioning whether Hughes Surveys have ever done a field survey on the property. The other thing would be the report is dated December 2023, but it's not signed. So we're dealing with a document that has a couple, what I would feel is major deficiencies, but perhaps they're not. Any comments or?
Well, Mr. Turner from Hughes Surveys is here. I would assume, given how much he's been down, a field survey has been completed. And it's just I'm assuming, again, this is a conceptual site plan. It's not a tentative. I mean, it's close to a tentative plan of subdivision, but at that time we would need those final things dealt with. But at this point, there's no concern with those two items.
Thank you, Counselor Heenan.
Yes, Your Worship. Just a question. I didn't see it mentioned in this information about a 10-year span to complete the project. I believe I read that somewhere, that they can build one building and then say they will, according to demand, build more. So I didn't see that in this information to council about the 10 years timeframe. So just asking. Thank you.
Mr. Knopper?
Through you, your worship, that was actually in the development and subdivision agreements. That's where you read them, that were provided to you prior to Christmas. So, yeah, for clarification.
Thank you, Mr. Knopper. Anything else, council? Yes, Mr. Spear?
Counselor Ware, I guess with Mr. Turner here, would you feel more comfortable if we got the tentative subdivision plan signed off before we went through the process? I think you could probably have that done in the next couple of weeks. If that make you more comfortable before doing the development agreement.
Well, again, it's just due diligence on my part, piece of paper until it's signed and properly dated and stuff.
Thank you, Counselor Weir. Mr. Spears, should we table this then till then?
Well, there's no need to table, your worship, because there's no motions.
Okay.
But but what I'm hearing, and again, you can still debate all of this again in a couple of weeks, but in the first meeting in February, we plan on bringing the whole package forward again to be able to approve the final reading of the rezoning and then the 2 development and subdivision agreements will be all tentatively all approved in 2 to 3 weeks.
So that will include the second and third?
Yeah.
Okay. Counselor Bennett, sorry.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. in reference to the $20,000 per building request that these folks are asking for, would it not be prudent, and I know we've talked about it several times, that there's been a few different groups come forth looking for money in different amounts, and we haven't kind of set a standard, and it's pretty hard to answer and ask from one group and not answer it to all groups. So isn't it maybe before we answer that amount about the dollar amount and what we can give, wouldn't it be prudent to find out what our budget is that we could allot and how we could dole it out so it's equally divided amongst all people who ask? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bennett. Mr. Spear, do you have a response?
Certainly, Worship. So we haven't, council didn't set aside really any extra funds for 2024 budget. We had a discussion, we had one amount that was set for a prior project that had been approved. And so anything that's approved would probably be put forward to 2025, but we certainly can provide you a history, a brief history of what has been approved over the last 3 years with this council. So you're at least aware of what's been approved for how many units and kind of the agreement. Try to make it a short and brief summary so it doesn't take 3 hours to read it through, but we can provide that for your sake. We are also looking at a development incentive bylaw, which we've had on our table for a few months, but it's quite a big piece to go through. And the concern would be that it's going to take a lot of council's time to work through that too. And so if you have concerns about the 20,000, you can bring that up during the debate and determine how you'd like to move forward with that, for sure, with the other information you're provided.
Thank you, Mr. Spear. Councillor Heenan?
It's me again. I apologize to our cohorts from Shamcook and Bayside, but this council, when it first began, we budgeted amounts of money that was made available for development within the town. And once we said we had reached those limits, we were done. And so I'm not sure if there's any left in the bank account, but that was my understanding. And as I say, I apologize to the three of you because you weren't here when we did it, but we approved a certain amount of money for development, which was under emergency sort of ways that we had to get stuff started. So having said that, I just worry about the budget, and to echo Councillor Bennett, I don't really particularly see that we can just hand it here and there. I think there has to be a process because I don't think we're flush with money. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Heenan. Does that answer your question, Councillor Bennett? Would you be happy with what Mr. Spear did?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. But I would like more information from the CAO. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Spear, if you would put that together. Councillor Hurdle.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. The request, I guess, before council is for funding to create affordable housing. And as we all know, affordable housing is definitely a need in the community. But for the benefit of the record and for the public's benefit as well, I wonder if we just get a brief definition of what affordable means and how someone would have to play within those rules.
Thank you, Councillor. Anything else? Oh,
Probably
Yeah.
me.
Andrew, you would like to speak
Answer the
now?
question. So, it's very hard to say, there is no like official definition of affordability. What I have been working with is an analysis out of UBC. I'm just going to try and pull it up for St. Andrews, and I know this will get quoted. But it's coming from the I can't remember the name. It's HART. And they do some very good research, and they basically, instead of saying things are affordable or they're not, they try and break it into 5 different categories. And I have lots of stuff usually ready to go for meetings, but I didn't have this one because I wasn't anticipating the question. It's a good question. And we're still waiting to hear back from the federal government on the Housing Accelerator Fund. If that is successful, then there will theoretically be more money that the municipality could disperse. They can basically flow it through. But at this point, we're sitting tight. So this breaks it down into 5 categories of income. You have affordability based on median household income. That comes from the 2021 census. The data was collected in 2020. So these numbers should be adjusted for inflation. The numbers I'm going to give you are not adjusted, but so that's a caveat there. So in St. Andrews, based on a median household income of $74,500, the very low income category would the maximum monthly shelter cost that a household there could afford would be $375 a month. The low category would be $875 a month. Moderate would be $1,500. Average would be $22,250. High is anything above that. And generally, when we're talking about affordable, we're somewhere in the moderate low or very low. Very low is typically heavily subsidized. Usually you have provincial subsidies through social development for those, public housing, so to speak. So it's really the low and moderate. And some people might say the moderate is what you hear as workforce housing. But from my perspective, it's around that moderate. So $1,500 adjusted for inflation, including utilities. That's your entire monthly shelter cost. But it's going to vary family to family. Is that a single person? Is that 2 people? It's tough to say, but that's the best research that's out there.
Thank you, Mr. Gopin. Mr. Spear? Oh, sorry.
Just a follow-up for clarity though, because I mean, I think this is important because there's a lot of debate in the public sphere about what is affordable. So just for clarity, I mean, the last couple of years, inflation was running rampant. So we're looking at, probably $1,600 a month for rent, and that would be considered affordable.
Based on the idea, and there's some debate over to whether this is the best metric, but it's basically what Canada with the province and most people have used for a long time. 30% of your household income is what you should be spending on your housing. Some people say that's not the right threshold either, but that's generally what's accepted. So based on that, for that moderately affordable, it's again, that $1,500 adjusted for inflation. I'm going to try and run that calculation right now. But I mean, that could be changing every day as inflation is changing every day. So it's around 1,700, maybe even 1,800 by 2024.
Xander, just for clarity of data though, you said this was to St. Andrews. Was the data really for St. Andrews or is it really St.
That was
Kevin region?
no, that was St. Andrews
have
in
visual.
2020 based on the 2021 census, but I believe the data was collected in 2020.
Thank you, Mr. Gopin.
So I will caveat that would be the former municipality of St. Andrews at that time. We have other data for Shamcook and Bayside, but most of the affordable housing we've talked about has been in the former municipality. So I think that's reasonable.
Thank you, Mr. Gopin. Councillor Hurdle, are you okay? Mr. Spear, I'll come back to you. You're fine. Anybody else? Oh, Councillor Weir, sorry.
Thank you, Your Worship. I use the same website all the time, study affordability and housing and everything. The only disappointing thing about it, it's so dated in that it's 2021 statistics and takes longer to move the numbers ahead than it does to find them. But it is some good information, and anyone on council that's interested in affordable housing should become familiar with the site. You can go all across Canada and study any little community you want as far as affordable housing, whatever your definition of it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Councillor Weir. Any else? Anybody else? Okay, so our steps are now to wait for more information and then it'll be discussed in February. So do we call the mayor back now? So close this. Thank you, council, and we will discuss it again in February.
I will just add, as I'm working on the background study, there's a large section on housing which gets into all of this. So if you want to dig more into it, there will be appendices and pages, and I'm always happy to talk about it, as I think you all know.
Thank you, Mr. Gopin. Yeah, he loves to talk. Thank you. Sorry, Mayor.
You guys get done everything? Whole agenda? Motion to adjourn? I know. All right, next one, discussion on the request for a fence between the town parking lot and Mr. Karl Savoie and Mr. Jeanie Langley's property, which is PED 240110. Mr. Spear, I believe there's an update from the council package. Is that correct?
What originally brought this forward was part of the application for the cannabis outlet store that's put in the Kennedy House that was approved, I think, in October, November. And one of the conditions was that a fence was to be erected at the back alley in their driveway, not the one that's between the town hall and the Kennedy House, but on the other side. And so there's been a lot of discussion about what that would look like. Initially, the proponent, Mr. Belanger, thought he would just run it the whole length of the property, but he's since come in and said he just plans on putting a fence along that alleyway with a gate that'll be open during business hours. And so that'll meet the conditions of the PAC in doing that. But why it's relevant here is because that Mr. Savoie was thinking he's going to get a fence along his whole property line behind the Kennedy House, and now he's not. And so if the town put up a fence along between the parking lot where those cement barricades are, it would really have no effect. Because, it'd just be one half of a fence and his other corner of the property be protected. His concern was more about security and less about screening. And so maybe council, we could table this and I could talk to Mr. Savoie because it's not gonna, the conditions have changed since this was originally put in. And maybe there might be a partnership to put something there to, because we have those barricades and maybe we want something that's a little more aesthetically pleasing. I'm not sure, but right now, for us to agree on a fence on our side, well, they can just walk around it. It doesn't make any sense at this point in time, in my opinion, anyway.
All right, I think staff is asking us to take it back to the property owners on PED 240110. Motion to table this one. Do I have one? I've got Councillor Heenan, Councillor Bennett, a second. Discussion on the tabling. Okay, all in favor of tabling, please signify by saying aye. That's everybody. It's been tabled. We kind of jumped into it. The next one was the discussion on the proposed development for Mowat Drive from Harbour Town Builders, PED 240109. Is there anything that we want to add, or I guess really it's next steps would be
We would start drafting the bylaw, basically.
okay. You looking for consensus on council if that's what the next step is, safe to say? Okay, council, how many would like to see what that draft bylaw, just a show of hands? Well, that's everybody. I don't think we have much more unless I don't want to skip over that in case anyone has any questions, but Mr. Gopin already spoke of this earlier. Okay, we're gonna move on. Consensus from everybody is that we would like to continue that process. All right. I don't know if we want to go back to the beginning. I know there's a lot of people here from Explore St. Andrews, maybe. I don't know if you like me jumping around, council, for the essence of them. Could be a football fan there too. I don't know. All right, let's jump ahead to economic development, business and culture. So that would be Councillor Hurdle and Ware. Thank you.
Thank you, Worship, as I find my place in here. So we are looking at BTHC 240103, and the subject is Explore St. Andrews Budget Approval and Committee Extension Request. So tonight, the council has had a presentation from Christy Kennedy, Chair of Explore St. Andrews, regarding their upcoming season plans and processes. As per bylaw number 23-01 Tourism Accommodation Levy, the council of the town of St. Andrews has to approve the budget for Explore St. Andrews before funds are released for the 2024 season. Please see the attached document for a copy of the proposed budget for 2024. In addition, Explore St. Andrews has been working through the development of new bylaws to become a nonprofit organization. Council allowed Explore St. Andrews to be a committee of council until the bylaws were completed. Explore is finalizing its bylaws but needs an additional few months to complete the process. Explore is seeking an extension to continue being a committee of council until the process is complete, and please see the attached letter requesting the timeline extension. The motion before us is that the council of the town of St. Andrews approves, or does not approve, I suppose, the 2024 Explore St. Andrews budget and allows for the release of tourism accommodation levy funds. I so move.
I'll be looking for somebody else. Okay, Counselor Neal, we're open for discussion. Any discussion? We did have a presentation with an opportunity to ask questions earlier. Okay, I'm gonna call the question. All in favor of approving the budget, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? That's nobody. That budget has been carried unanimously. And the next one,
Thank you, Your Worship. The next motion is that the council of the town of St. Andrews extends Explore St. Andrews as a committee of council until May 2024. And I so move.
okay, and Deputy Mayor Akaji has seconded. Discussion on this one. I think I can honestly say from a council perspective, it doesn't impact my day-to-day life at all. Staff obviously is the one that works a little closer. Any concerns from staff? Not seeing any. Any other questions or comments from council? Okay, all in favor of approving that motion, please signify by saying aye. Perfect. Explore St. Andrews has got both of those approved. Thank you again for the presentation this evening. Stay around. We've got a lot more excitement ahead. The door, lock the door so they can't go. All right. Next one, we're going to jump ahead and kind of go through order because it's a lot shuffling through this document to find the motions. We're going to go back to Finance and Administration to Deputy Mayor Akaji.
Thank you, Your Worship and council. My first motion is FA 231017. And it's a bylaw number 23-06, a procedural bylaw for the organization and operation of the Council of St. Andrews, second and third reading. So the background is this. Council has been moving through the bylaw process by bylaw number 23-06, a procedural bylaw for organization and operation of the Council of St. Andrews. Council has proposed several changes to the procedures of council from the current bylaw number 16-03. The following steps have been taken in the bylaw process. A public hearing of objections, November 22nd, 2023. The first reading, November 22nd, 2023. And we are now at second and third and final reading. There were no comments from the public during the public hearing of objections. Staff have provided an updated version of the bylaw with a report of recommended changes. If the council is satisfied with the recommended changes, the council can now move to the second and third final reading of this bylaw. So the motion is this, that the council of the town of St. Andrews grants leave for the second reading to bylaw number 23-06, a procedural bylaw for the organization and operation of the Council of St. Andrews, and I so move, Your Worship.
Thank you. A seconder for the procedural bylaw. I got Councillor Harlan. Discussion. Okay, call the question. All in favor of going to second reading, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That's everybody. So here we go. This is by title, Town of St. Andrews bylaw number 23-06. a procedural bylaw for the organization and operation of the council of the town of St. Andrews as regulated by the Local Governance Act of the province of New Brunswick. Under the table of contents, you'll see 1 authority, 2 definitions, 3 schedule amendments. Under meetings, 4 first meeting, 5 deputy mayor, 6 regular meetings, 7 special meetings, 8 staff meetings of council, 9 emergency meetings, 10 public notice of meetings, 11 duration of meetings, 12 meetings open to the public, 13 quorum, 14 council decisions under proceedings, 15 is mayor's duties, 16 agenda, 17 recording of attendance, 18 changes to the agenda, 19 disclosure of conflict of interest, 20 minutes, 21 presentations, 22 staff reports, 23 financial reports, 24 bylaws, 25 motions, 26 council comments, 27 mayor's comments. Under general rules at meetings, 28 is order, 29 is mayor entering debate, 30 is chairperson, 31 manner of speaking, 32 voting procedure, 33 suspension of rules, 34 reconsideration. Additional duties would be 35, once again, mayor, 36 town clerk. Under general provisions, 37 vacancies on council, 38 application of parliamentary procedure, 39 official languages, 40 right to information, protection of privacy, 41 repeal of previous bylaws, and schedules A is the standing subcommittees. It was read the second time, 15th day of January 2024. How's that for speed? Do you guys want to do it again for fun? Okay, let's do it again for fun. Next motion.
Oops, sorry. The second motion is that the council of the town of St. Andrews grants leave for the third and final reading to the bylaw of number 23-06, a procedural bylaw for the organization and operation of the council of St. Andrews, and I so move, your worship.
Once again, I'll be looking for a second. That's Councillor Neal. Discussion. Consistent with last time. All in favor of this motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, we are going to third reading. This is the Town of St. Andrews bylaw number 23-06, a procedural bylaw for the organization and operation of the council of the Town of St. Andrews as regulated by the Local Governance Act of the province of New Brunswick. The table of contents, 1 authority, 2 definitions, 3 schedule amendments. Under meetings, 4 first meeting, 5 deputy mayor, 6 regular meetings, 7 special meetings, 8 staff meetings of council, 9 emergency meetings, 10 public notice of meetings, 11 duration of meetings, 12 meetings open to the public, 13 quorum, 14 council decisions. Under proceedings, 15 is mayor's duty, 16 agenda, 17 recording of attendance, 18 changes to the agenda, 19 disclosure of conflict of interest, 20 minutes, 21 presentations, 22 staff reports, 23 financial reports, 24 bylaws, 25 motions, 26 councilors' comments, 27 mayor comments, general rules at meetings, 28 is order, 29 mayor entering debate, 30 chairperson, 31 manner of speaking, 32 voting procedure, 33 suspension of services, 34 reconsideration. Additional duties, 35 is mayor, 36 is town clerk under general provisions, 37 vacancies of council, 38 application for parliamentary procedure, 39 official languages, 40 is the right to information, protection of privacy, 41 is repeal of provision of bylaws, and under schedules, we have A, standing subcommittees, and now it's been read a third and final time, the 15th day of January 2024.
I think you should sing it. Oh, okay. My next one is FA 240112. And it's Human Resources Job Description Updates. So the background is this. As part of the 2024 budget, the council allowed for an administrative assistant at town hall, in addition to the receptionist, as well as making the recreational leader position full-time. With the expanded municipality and ongoing recreational offerings being made available to the public, it was felt necessary to increase our employee pool to meet the needs of our town. It needs to be noted that the recreational leader position has been within our budget for over a decade as a three-quarters position. So we would like to be able to offer that the employee full-time hours and benefits. As 2 of the positions are being made full-time, we deem it prudent to have it formally approved by a motion of the council to add them to our human resource pool. So the motion is this, council, that the council of the town of St. Andrews approves the addition of the administrative assistant and recreational leader to the full-time human resource pool of the town of St. Andrews. And I so move this, your worship.
Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Harland. Discussion on this one? It's more administrative considering one is already in the role. Okay, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none. All right, that is carried. Let's go to the next one.
On my way. And the final one for Finance and Administration is FA 240113. And it's Human Resources Internal Hiring Policy. Background is this: to formalize and encourage current employees to apply for available positions, staff have been asked to prepare an internal hiring policy for the council's consideration. This will allow current staff within a limited time to make an application for the position and be interviewed before the competition goes through a public process. Potential candidates will be screened and must meet the criteria for the position to be considered. So the motion is this: that the Council of the Town of St. Andrews adopt Section 2.7 Internal Hiring Policy to be added to the Employee Policies and Procedural Manual. And I so move, Your Worship.
And again, the seconder, please. I've got Counselor Bennett, I'll give it to. Discussion on that one? It's definitely good for staff to put a policy together so quickly.
And thank you,
We
staff,
just
for
talked
doing
about
it.
it, and it's good for staff to know what that process is and have it written down so everyone can see it, and the public as well to know what our internal hiring policy is. So thank you, staff. I will call the question. All in favor of adopting that policy, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That is implemented. Thank you very much. And the next one, I feel like we'll have to slow down a little bit. We're switching to Public Works and Public Safety, which is Counselor Neal and Bennett. And I believe Counselor Bennett has the reading.
Thank you, Your Worship and Council. Reference PW 230820, subject St. Andrews Market Wharf and Market Square decision. The background: over the last several years, council has reviewed and consulted on options for rehabilitating the Market Wharf and Market Square. Staff have worked diligently with other levels of government to acquire a total contributions of funds between all funding partners of $8 million. In the fall of 2023, staff hosted 3 open houses with the Market Wharf and Market Square options. Additionally, a survey was provided to residents who attended, was mailed out to all residents and was available online for comments. Please see the attached report for more details. With the timelines of the grant fund for the project to be completed by March 2026, to meet this time frame, staff need direction from council on option for the Market Wharf and Market Square. Once the council has selected an option, staff will work with CBCL Limited on the final engineering design and tender package. It is a goal to have the package released in the spring, awarded by the council, and the project to begin in the fall of 2024. Please see the attached documents for additional background on Market Wharf and Market Square options. Note that each option has varying timelines and the process that could, depending on the decision, impact the 2025 summer season. The following options are for consideration. First, the infill berm. The second is a steel pile. Third is the precast block, and the fourth is the hybrid infill and steel option. Motion that the council of the town of St. Andrews approves an design option for the Market Wharf or Market Square rehabilitation project, and I so move.
Perfect. So I think this time we'll maybe get a second or open up for discussion, and then we'll just read the motion again at the end, just so hopefully we'll have an option in there. Counselor Heenan raised his hand to second it, so it's on the table. Council, kind of just for this process, I am anticipating, maybe I'm wrong, but there might be varying opinions, just like there is in the community. So what I thought is we would go around the table, let everyone have the opportunity, should they wish to speak once. And then from there, what I'm going to try to do is get some consensus. And then when I have the option that I feel has the most consensus, we'll read it in to a motion. If we get a mover and a seconder, then we can debate that motion and continue that way. Does anyone have any concerns over that process? I just think it makes the most sense. All right, let's open it up. Council, who would like to kick off? I'm assuming that multiple people probably want to speak to this one, but I don't want to put any pressure on you either. Counselor Gumashell.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll go first. I prepared a brief statement. Personally, I believe the hybrid infill and steel pile berm is probably the best option in terms of coming up with a solid action plan to address climate change and aging infrastructure at Market Wharf. Although it is nearly $2 million more expensive than the infill berm option, the steel piles will likely have the least impact on currents and therefore be less likely to increase the sedimentation along the waterfront. The hybrid option also allows the community to address climate change while doing our utmost to maintain the look and feel of the current wharf, meaning that it, in the words of my grade 5 student, Abby Johnson, it would be both practical and pretty. The difference of $2 million and 1 extra month's construction time isn't enough to make me vote for the infill berm, but the difference in cost is significant and made this a difficult decision to make. One final note is to say that I very much believe in maintaining Market Square as a public space for the community, and whichever option we finally decide upon, I will do my utmost to advocate for increasing the footprint of Market Square as a public space and stimulus for business, culture, and recreation. Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you, Abby.
I was wondering if Abby wrote that. I believe she was mayor for a day.
She was,
So
yeah, former
now,
mayor,
now she's entering
former
debate.
worship.
I might have to look
Highness
up for my job
Abby
here
Johnson.
soon. Thank you for that, Councilor Goodwill.
We went over it today.
Anyone next? Anyone else? I guess we're going that way. Councilor Heenan.
We might as well keep up the good work. Anyway, I did a lot of soul searching. I did a lot of looking around, and the past storm has really convinced me. I was 3/4 convinced that we needed to do a wharf renovation, but after the storm and after seeing Market Square in such dire straits, it's the town's heart. So we need to do it. And so I am supporting the hybrid infill and steel pile construction, Your Worship. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilor Heenan. I think we're going this way, but it looks because I see Councilor Bennett leaning forward.
Thank you again, Your Worship. My vote would be for the infill berm and solely for the quicker time to complete the project. And it would satisfy hopefully less disruptive time for the summer season, and that's fast approaching. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Bennett. Appreciate it. Might as well keep going. Councilor Neal, you have anything you'd like to state?
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, basically I would, I've gone through all of these, I don't know how many times, hundreds of times, talked to numerous people. And again, I think at the end of the day, I'm landing on the infill, the hybrid infill and steel pile as well. Again, I do realize that it is an increased cost, but the additional 1 month in time to me just doesn't warrant significantly altering our shoreline and the environmental impacts that are going to come with that. So for that reason, I landed on the hybrid infill.
Thank you very much, Councilor Neal. Everyone's concise. Councilor Harland. If you want, I don't mean to throw you on the spot.
No,
but
that's
I am.
okay. You are. Thank you, Mayor Henderson. It's been tough. I've looked at the reports, read them, consulted people that I value their opinions, and I too would go with the hybrid infill and steel pile. I recognize that there is an additional cost to this model, but I think it would have potentially be less intrusive from an environmental perspective. I also see the one additional month as being manageable compared to 12 months of the year. I am assuming, though, that whatever model we decide that we're going with, that there would be further costing because, I know, Chris, Mr. Spear, that you have said again and again that these are estimates. So there would be further costing. And I'm assuming that there would be some further discussion around environmental impact. Is that the case?
If you may, Worship, through you. So the environmental impact, we did have it approved initially, but was reading through the material today and they'd hoped it would begin by now, and so it may have expired, depends what their definition of begin. Sometimes that just means design. But their initial feeling, and especially with this model, is that it was really just replacing something that's already there because it's pretty much staying within the same footprint. We'll have to go back to them, but we went through the province who oversaw it, and they didn't require, even in the infill berm, which there was a lot of concerns about what it would do to the sediment, and I don't disagree, but they weren't even looking at that to do an EIA. So anything we do is going to be over and above what the regulators have requested. The only thing is the hybrid model did include adding an additional 40 meters to Market Square, so that's significant, which wasn't on the table originally.
Right.
So we'll have to go back to them and see what they feel about that.
Okay. Thank you for that follow-up. And I guess I just want to echo Councillor Gumichel's comment around Market Square. I too feel very strongly that we need to preserve and enhance our Market Square. We need to rethink what is the heart of our town. What's going to be the vision and the purpose of the heart of our town? And I know it's not popular, but my hope is that it's not a parking lot. Like that we really look at opportunities to grow our town through the Market Square. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Harlan. I'm gonna randomly say Councillor Hurt.
Ditto, your worship. No, okay. Obviously, I mean, honestly, I almost can't believe that we're actually here at this moment. I think that we've all thought so long and hard about this, and I've obviously agonized about this decision for a very long time and have debated this from all different points of view and in ways as well. My thought is also with the hybrid berm and infill and steel pile solution. I think that the difference between 6 months and 7 months is better than 7 months and 12 months. Obviously there's a bit of an increased cost over infill as well. However, it's still the second cheapest option that we have in front of us here as well. And just in terms of maintaining the aesthetic appeal, the look, the feel, and establishing more of a lived-in space in that area as well, I think does solve some issues for us. And again, like Councillor Gumichel and Councillor Harlan just mentioned as well, I also advocate for lived spaces for people in the community as well, and the opportunity to turn this, I mean, it already is the heart of the community, into a more thriving space for the community as well. So I'm looking forward to it. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hurdle. Councillor Ware.
I don't know whether there's anything left for me to say or not,
Ditto, is what I guess.
but I'll give it a shot. I guess looking at all of them, the hybrid one would be my preference. I have concerns in that I do have a very clear understanding of shoreline currents, and any protrusion into the waterway is it's bound to have effect on sediments, all kinds of things. And I don't know what the water speed is out there at the fastest moving tide, but I know what it's like to have a wharf at 5 knots, and it has tremendous impact on the bottom and everything. I still haven't got it straight in my mind on the structural integrity of the entire structure. We call it the wharf, but really there's a pier at the end. There's an approachway, and then there's the part where you come on land. The pier itself, 1/3 of it was rebuilt completely. 1/3 was refurbished or repaired. I don't think the other 1/3, anything has ever been done to since 1950s.
That's correct. That's really what's the main problem right now, is that we have the 1950 wooden structure that is basically failing at this time.
Yeah. So, again, I have the same comment as Councillor Harlan.
we're picking something here, but we still have to look at costs. We've got funding in place. I don't know whether there's provisions for increasing that funding, whether they're gonna pay X percent of $10 million or what. So I think we're just taking the first, what seems like a gigantic step, but it's really just the first baby step in going through this process of doing the war. And like I say, I have my concerns about any protrusion into the bay. I've seen the effects of that, and so the hybrid seems to be the one to start down the road on. Whether we'll end the journey there or not, I don't know. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Wirt. Deputy Mayor Akaji.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you, Ms. Councilor Weir, for your excellent words. I think I've been around the longest and played on that wharf when I was little. So it is an icon for our town and Market Square as well. The comments are well put and well stated that we need to make Market Square vibrant for our community, but it is vibrant, but to make it more vibrant. I think, and speaking with the people of the town of St. Andrews, the wharf is truly an asset for our town. And we need to put, as Mr. Spear and Mr. Knopper have said to us, we need to now make our vote known. Mine is for the hybrid infill and steel pile. I had a tough time deciding with all the information that we've received, but I think, you know, the 1 month doesn't matter to me, or the money certainly does, but I know that it's going to be a thing that we have put forward. And as Councillor Weir said, it's baby steps because we're starting forward, and we know things will happen down the road, but at least I feel confident that our wharf is part of our town of St. Andrews, and we have to reflect that in our decision. So I thank you, and I thank you, staff, for providing me with all the information with which to read and think over. I mean, I've been here a long time and thinking we've got to do something about the wharf, especially when you see it in the storms and it's floating up and down. So yes, I'd like to see it a little more solid, but definitely thank you very much for all the information. And thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. That's everybody. I will say that it wouldn't take a very good mayor to even figure out what consensus is there. It really sounds like majority are with hybrid, infill, and steel. So I'll actually ask, if you don't mind, Councillor Neal, since you were for that, if you don't mind adding that into a motion, then we'll move and second it. I don't have to amend that. It's just adding and adding in. And so yeah, Councillor Neal, if you want to read that motion. You'll have an opportunity to debate after mover and seconder again, unless you want to do it before. Is it? No, okay.
Thank you, Your Worship. Okay, so the motion reads that the Council of the Town of St. Andrews approve the hybrid infill and steel pile design option for Market Wharf and Market Square Rehabilitation Project, and I so move.
Could I have a seconder for that one? I've got Councillor Heenan won that race. All right, Councillor Harlan, we're open for discussion again.
So this is a question for staff. In terms of, as Councillor Weir mentioned, you know, the effects of extending points of land into the bay and the effects of that in terms of erosion. So we have two previous examples of that. We've got the yacht club, right? That extends out, further out, and Pendlebury Light. And I don't know, that's been there for how long? It's been there for a long time. Yeah. Okay. So do we have a sense of the impact on erosion with both of those 2 points of land?
Truthfully, no. What I can tell you is several years ago, we dredged the in where the finger, the inner wharf, what we'd call it, where the finger pier is for the
Right.
little boats and
Right.
where the bigger boats will park sometimes. And we took it all out and within 6 months it was filled in again. So it's just, there's a lot of sediment that just rests in that bay. I can't tell you, like I'd never say to ever do that process again. But we've never done any type of studies on that at all, even at the infill berm. But to speak on historic, I don't know if there'd be enough data around anymore to do that.
Okay.
For those older things, we could look at our own, but for the lighthouse and by the yacht club, I'm not so sure there'd be enough data from either existence to actually figure that out.
Thanks.
Thanks. Anyone else? Councilor Neil?
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, this is sort of a comment and one question for staff, I guess. Again, with the process moving forward, so we will have a tender process at some point, and again, council will still have the opportunity for input on final design, correct?
Yes, I guess yes, I mean, yes, well, typically no, but because you're not interested, but it's such a monumental project will involve you in every step of the way as much as need be.
I guess the point I was going to make was ideally, from my opinion, again, with regards to what Councillor Weir, the information that we've received, including the email even today, again, the experts that I've spoken to, with the hybrid infill, again, I could see how potentially we could reduce that protrusion out, and still have, a significant increase to the space of Market Square, but not significantly alter the shoreline at the same time. So, we could reduce, again, these concerns about erosion, sedimentation, possibly reduce the effects of any environmental impact assessment that we might have to carry on, but still have the benefits from this design as it was presented to us originally.
Thank you, Councilor Neil. Councilor Heenan?
Yes, Your Worship and Council. First off, I applaud council for making a decision. This has been a long overdue decision. I feel that no matter what we do, no matter what model was chosen or is chosen, there will be environmental impact to a degree. It's just the fact we have to choose the best one. And I think that that's probably what we've kind of done. I think that if I was an engineer, I'd be happy. I'm not. I just know what I read. But I really feel that council, the public especially, the council and the public have spoken. I went to the 3 meetings and they were fully attended. And the public had suggested that this is the one they wanted. And it was quite a spread in the margin. So I look at it and I think, well, we've done what council has wished. We've done what the public has wished. So I feel that we cannot feel guilty, shall I say, about our decision. We have made it and we've done the best we can. So that's all I'd like to say, Your Worship. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Heenan. Anyone else? All right, I think it's time. I'll call a question. All in favor of approving the hybrid infill and steel option, please signify by saying aye. That is everybody. That has been unanimously carried. I do want to say that Councillor Blanchard and I had a conversation when I heard he was having some challenges with Air Canada and he preferred the hybrid infill and steel option. I didn't think consensus was going to be as easy as that. So a little bit of a surprise for me. But I just again want to echo, thank you, staff. That was a lot of consultation. In our report, the data that was provided back from that, I think was first in class based on, the fact it is a survey. It's the best it could be. And I just want to say I appreciate it because it was a lot of extra nights. And this wasn't the first time you've done it. Last time I was in council, you did it too, but you did a great job of getting the public engaged to provide us feedback. And council, that is a big decision, probably, and hopefully the biggest financial one that will make obviously the term of council. But it also impacts the community, not just for the next couple of years, but literally for the next 50. So it was a big decision. So thank you for making it. And I'm just curious, last thing I'll say on it, I waited till after you made a decision. Councillor Gubishel, what option did the grade 5s pick?
The grade 5s chose the hybrid option, but the grade 4s chose the infill berm. But they're not the best listeners. It was close.
It was close.
Put that in the minutes. All right, council, we will move off from that one. Yeah. Go ahead.
Thank you, Worship. I just wanted to kind of summarize what's going to happen next, but
Okay.
ask a couple of questions. So I think it'd be, once we allow CBCL to know what was chosen, maybe for them to do Gantt charts, I guess it's called, where they kind of set the expectations. They're saying it'll take 6 or 7 months of design, honestly. And maybe we'll have them attend maybe the next staff meeting, and if they can get their stuff together by then to let you go there. One thing, and I respect what you've chosen, but it is at the upper end of our budget. There, if council's willing, I probably should go back to the finance board, and in case there's an overage, we don't have to commit to borrowing it, but we just have to commit that make it available. The problem with provincial borrowing for municipalities is if you do it after the tender, it's too late. They want it before the tender's been called. And so I'd rather have that funding available as just in case. And with the timing of everything, it means I probably should bring it to the next meeting, because we wouldn't be able to get to the board before March. I'd probably ask for an additional $1 million. It just means it's there again, if you decide to go down the road, but those estimates again were 2021, I think. So if you look at even 10%, that's an extra $780,000 potentially that could go up. That's right. We're at 1.8 right now. Or no, 2.1. And so it's a lot, but I guess it's just to have all the options available before you. So if you don't mind, that'll come so I don't surprise you. The second thing is, I guess, to go back to Councillor Weir commenting, said they'd like to look at like the costing and stuff. And I mean, we could update, we won't know the final cost until we go to tender. It's just the nature of the beast. And at this point, in my opinion, there's no real turning back at this point. It's either that we put out the design, put out the tender, and it comes back and it's so ridiculously high, we have to abandon it. But this process is so long, there won't be going to a plan B really. Plan B will be abandoning it, because we're going to run out of time to do any further research. So just so you know what the expectation is, I can still have CBCL prepare a more up-to-date budget with today's dollars, but they could still be 15-20% off. It just, until we get the final documentation in by the potential proponents, we won't know what the final price is.
Thank you, Mr. Spear. Bring that forward. We can always just table it or whatever. Let's have that conversation. And even if we do approve it before anything was accepted, it would still come back even another time for council. So there is a couple of checks, but we'll discuss that at more length next meeting. In essence, the time for tonight. But thank you for making us aware. Let's move ahead now to the last motion. I believe we're jumping around a little bit because we already did economic development, business and culture. So we're now in recreation environment. That would be Councillor Gumashell and Blanchard. So Councillor Gumashell, I believe it's on page 150.
Okay. Thank you, Worship. Under the Recreation and Environment Committee, reference number PW 240114, submitted by Councillor Blanchard, and the subject is compost feasibility study request for proposal award. And the background reads: the town of St. Andrews received $30,000 from the Environmental Trust Fund of 2023-2024 to complete a compost feasibility study. The study would include the areas of Bayside, Shamcook, and St. Andrews. The goal of the study is to identify options for compost collection and processing on a municipal level. The request for proposal was released in October 2023 with a closing date of November 17th, 2023. The town received 3 bids. The first bid was from Chapin Consulting for $27,000. The second bid was from Eastern Charlotte Waterways, $29,727.50. And the third bid was from Dillon Consulting for $29,987.40. All bills include HST. Staff used the scoring matrix to evaluate the proposals based on the proposal submission, proponent profiles, approach and methodology, consultant experience, and budget. Based on the scoring, staff would recommend council award the RFP to Dillon Consulting. So the motion reads: that council for the town of St. Andrews awards the compost feasibility study request for proposal to Dillon Consulting for $29,987.40, HST included, and I would make that motion, your worship.
Seconder. I've got Counselor Ware. Discussion on this one? Okay, seeing none. I do have a quick question. Was there any element of Dillon's that jumped out to make it kind of the most favored option since the report's not attached?
So through your worship, one of the strongest parts of their application was actually their experience as well as their staff knowledge on waste collection that they've done across Canada. And I think that really set them apart as a valuable RFP and somebody that we can rely on to provide a strong report back to us. So they've done compost studies in other communities. They've worked with mega cities all the way down to the smallest little communities. So really that was a key to us when we were looking at it. And their approach and methodology also met our expectations for what we were hoping to see.
Perfect. And go ahead, Counselor.
I'll second Mr. Knopper's comments. I've dealt with Dillon's for 40 or 50 years, and they're exceptional as far as their consulting ability in anything they undertake. So it's worth a couple $1,000s just to have that reputation.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. I will say that Dillon was here by coincidence today. I met with them and they are eager to provide more service and a high service level to the town of St. Andrews. And then we let them know that they're actually on the docket tonight. I don't know if even the individuals that were in town knew they were, but nonetheless, council, we've got a mover, a seconder. If there's no other discussion, call the question. All in favor of awarding this, please signify by saying aye. That has been done. That is all of the motions. Thank you very much, council. At this particular time, I'm going to move ahead to new business, which there is none. So we are in question period. Is there any question from anyone in the audience this evening? Is there anyone online, Mr. Knopper?
You have 11 online tonight watching.
Perfect.
So apologies, council. So for anybody that is online that has a question for council based on tonight's agenda, please raise your hand. Virtual hand, yes. I'll say it again. Anybody who is virtually online, please raise your virtual hand if you wish to speak to council or have a question for council.
All right.
I'm going to say no. And council, just so you are aware, you actually have a class from the New Brunswick Community College that's participating in this. They're actually doing a minute taking. So this is actually one of their class studies. So that's another reason why we have an increase in
couple good sound clips tonight too.
Bad.
Minutes. All right. And nothing was submitted via email?
Nothing submitted via email.
All right. Well, thank you very much. So this brings us now into councillor and deputy mayor's comments. Any member of council? I was waiting. Deputy Mayor.
I was waiting to see if the council was going to say anything. I want to thank the people at the warming center. When we have had these storms, people come out of the woodwork, and I know Debbie Lord has received an award, but she was there. She had games out for the kids. Mervyn had a movie on. You were there. You didn't see me, but I was there. It was phenomenal to talk to the people, and they were very happy getting warm. Doing their, getting their PDAs all charged up and whatnot. It was nice. I went to the fire station first because I knew the warming station was open, but I went there first. And they invited me in, which was kind of nice. And I got to charge my cell phone and get warm. It was very warm in there. So I appreciate the fire station allowing me, especially the chief, to come in and get warm, but to also charge. And I'd like to, as I say, thank those people who volunteer, and you don't see them in the, out and our staff, they were there in and out, and it's really good to see. And it's nice to see that the warming station was used. But I do ask for one thing, that when you're there, because we're short-staffed, they're out doing the storm things, it would be helpful if you could put all your stuff in the garbage can and tidy up maybe a little bit to make it a little easier on the staff, because we don't have a lot of staff there, and it would be very helpful if you helped, to tidy up the games, put them away. I know Debbie did, but and I know there were some kids that did because parents were very good about making them do that. But maybe from yourself, if you just think about it and pick up your garbage and take it to the garbage can, that would be great, because we only have a few staff working that day, and it's just nice to be helpful. And the other thing I ask is that during these storms that you check on your neighbors. I know we say it often enough, but I, have found out afterwards that there were a couple of people that they don't have their kids around or their family around and refused to come to the warming station and needed wood put in their, their box and a few things, a few meals. And it's nice to know that there are, you care about your neighbors and you're going to do that. And I know we do as a community. We do help out with everybody. So thank you very much. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, Mayor's comments. By the way, another great service at the warming center, Char and Chowder opening the canteen when the power was out. There were so many people taking advantage. And yeah, they weren't charging kids, whatever they wanted. They didn't charge them. And if you didn't have money because you didn't expect them to be open, they just said, pay us next time you're in. So that speaks volumes of the type of community we're in. And I just wanted to highlight, just because the amount of storms and incidents, obviously we had a forest fire, the amount of after hours time and the extra work that it's created for our public works staff, our fire department, all town staff, and Mr. Spear. I don't know how many evenings and weekends we have spent together this year. I no disrespect, but I didn't plan to spend that much time with you. But your dedication to this community it doesn't go unnoticed, and it doesn't go unnoticed for all of our town staff. We all know we live in a beautiful community, but we know the people that there's a lot of different reasons, but we know the people that are a big reason to why that is. So I never want to take for granted the response in all situations that we've had over the last year and the way that our staff has responded to it. So I think it's very fitting. You want me to talk about myself to get a round of applause? No? Would it be, it might be in the minutes at the college. That'd be. All right. We have no reason for closed session tonight. Oh, sorry. Oh, yes. Sorry. Mayor's comments. I do, thank you for that, Mr. Knopper. I do have a box here from Thorpe St. Andrews, so our sister community. Inside of it is a card that says that all the items in the box are for the mayor. But there is a whole lot of items here that they have given us that speaks to their community. And I know that we send a Christmas box to them every year. I think Mr. Knopper takes the lead on that, or yeah, he always does. So very nice gift. We're very fortunate to have the partnership. I have to admit, sometimes I think I recognize they do a better job with it than we do. So we'll have to really step up our game, but this is a very nice gift. So thank you, of anyone. And they do watch from time to time from Thorpe St. Andrews for this wonderful gift. Thank you for reminding me, Mr. Knopper. I was trying to hide it so I could just put it in my car and go.
Your worship, it'd just be kind of interesting if you grab 2 or 3 of those, because we were interested in the style of treats they were. They're very not typical of what we have here. So you just grab 2 or 3 of them.
Okay. We have some Sensations chips.
With the flavor, there's something.
Chris, they're Chris. Sorry, you know your Chris, don't you? Some instant custard. These are orange chocolate for those that like that. You really want me to keep going?
Oh no, it's
some tea. I don't want to tell everything because then council knows what's in here in the public in case they. But yeah, we'll divide it up so no one has any item worth over $50 for the procurement policy. But thank you again for that. And again, no reason to go to closed session. Okay, so I'll be.
Worship, I just want to note that it is 1 hour and 59 minutes. So you are still under Councillor Grimshell's 2.5 hour time clock.
I expect a text from Counselor Gumashell. All right, could I have a motion to adjourn? So at 8:29 PM, Deputy Mayor Akji has made a motion to adjourn. Could I have a seconder? Counselor Gumashell. All in favor of adjourning, please signify by saying aye. Impressive time. Thanks everyone for attending this evening.